What it do, peeps? It's the Beat Chef for Watch the Damn Tape. Hit that like, that share, that subscribe button. Hit that bell to get notified when I drop my next video. To my new subscribers, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the show and I hope you get something from the content. To my day ones, thank you for helping me build this platform and keep this WNBA conversation pushing. Back in July after the All-Star break, I told everybody in a show called Fallout that after the All-Star game and after that meeting that they initially had with the owners, I told you that they would, as soon as they started getting microphones put in front of them, they would start telling you things that happened in that meeting. Telling you that. Anytime they get a microphone, they're releasing tidbits. Nneka Onwuchekwa told some information about the 4 times the player's salary back in August, and there's been ongoing meetings since then. Now, Napheesa Collier has stepped to the forefront and she has released what she says is a conversation she had with Cathy Englebert. I'm going to let you listen to what Napheesa had to say, and then I'll break it all down after this. I'm going to break down each point of Napheesa Collier's press conference. Let's take a listen and let her get her rocks off.
I have prepared a statement that I would like to make before taking any questions. All right. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate the Mercury for advancing to the finals. And I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates.
Now, she just started the press conference off by saying it's not about physicality and it's not about missed calls. Missed calls goes to officiating, and then she goes into a word salad, and then she goes right to the refs. Keep in mind, folks, the refs are terrible. I'll give her that. They're not the problem. The problem is, to be honest, a lot of these women can't hoop. A lot of these women can't play. They don't work on their craft. The ones that can't work on their craft and that want to keep a job will do anything to keep a job. And that's get physical. Napheesa can't really truly get up there and say the physicality is on the league when Chiney Ogumwai, and I can pull the video and show you if you think I'm lying. Chiney Ogumwai last year, when it came to Caitlin Clark, said the league has always been about physicality. Physicality is about the league. It's always been about the league. She said, we trash talk, we talk noise, and we're physical. She was proud about it. She stood on it. Last year when Caitlin Clark was getting her butt kicked and her clock cleaned every other night, none of these players said a word about the physicality and the things that was going on to Caitlin Clark. Cheryl Reeves said it's a grown woman's league. Other players, Diana Taurasi, said it was a grown woman's league. So for Napheesa to come out after she's been injured in a game and not blame it on the players and blame it on the refs, if the ref called a technical foul on Alyssa Thomas and tossed her out the game, Napheesa Collier still tears the ligaments in her ankle. It's not going to be avoided. You are going to twist your ankle regardless. You twisted your ankle prior to your knee getting caught. It happens. But to act like that was the ref would have saved you is disingenuous. Let's let her continue.
Whether the league cares about the health of the players is one thing, but to also not care about the product we put on the floor is truly self-sabotage. Year after year, the only thing that remains consistent is the lack of accountability from our leaders.
The product we put on the floor. Now, her ex-coach, Gino Auriemma, he spoke about this as well this week, which I find it interesting that in 3 days, 2 UConn people are speaking about the WNBA, which is why I know her husband wrote this this speech. But back to the product they put on the court. For the most part, the product they put on the court is abysmal, which goes back to the first point. Most of these players can't play basketball to a high level. Most of them shouldn't be playing professional basketball. But this league is an opportunity league. When she played in the finals last year, in the last game of the series, they had 20 points at halftime. And this is with two elite teams with Olympians on both sides. And they scored 20 points in a half of basketball. The product is terrible. They don't like critique. But she keeps referencing the fans, and I'm gonna get into that in just a second. But let her get her next point across.
Sorry, I had to walk here in my boot. I'm kind of out of breath. The league has a buzzword that they've rolled out as talking points for the CBA as to why they can't pay the players what we're worth. That word is sustainability. But what's truly unsustainable is keeping a good product on the floor while allowing officials to lose control of games. Fans see it every night. Coaches, both winning and losing, point it out every night in pregame and postgame media. Yet leadership just issues fines and looks the other way.
Now, this one was interesting because Becky Hammon spoke, Cheryl Reeve spoke. Losses by both teams. Cheryl Reeve's team blew a lead. They blew a 14-point lead and lost. And she complained about the refs. Not about the poor play down the stretch, the missed shots, none of that. Becky Hammon, same thing. Going in the paint, attacking the paint, and then you don't attack the paint, and then you want to talk about fouls. They're wish-washy when it comes to their messaging. She keeps on putting it on the refs, putting it on the league. Yes, the league has problems. The players are a bigger problem. But this next one is what really got me, because she's dodging the sustainability part. Yes, sustainability is huge because we've seen it in real time. People have fallen off the wagon after Caitlin Clark announced, hey, I'm not coming back. And some people were falling off just for her not playing, period. And they were like, I'll come back when Caitlin comes back. But we're going to get to that in just a second.
They ignore the issues that everyone inside the game is begging to be fixed. That is negligence. At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Cathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years.
Now, this is where she lied. And you had to listen to it to catch it. She said earlier this year at Unrivaled, and she said Paige, Caitlin, and Angel Reese, the increased numbers into the league. That this conversation never happened. And if it did happen, it didn't happen the way she's telling it. She said at Unrivaled. Unrivaled was finished well before the WNBA season. At the time Unrivaled was going on, Paige Beckers was in college, not even in the tournament yet. The tournament hadn't even started. Paige Beckers was in college. Angel Reese was in Unrivaled. Caitlin Clark was playing golf and living life. They had a casual conversation. I'm pretty sure they had a conversation because Cathy Englebert, showed up at Unrivaled. I've made videos about this. I've talked about this a couple times. She was there to spy on Unrivaled to see what was going on. Caitlin Clark had already gotten, by this time, Caitlin Clark had already gotten her shoe deal. Her shoe deal was announced right after the draft, right after the WNBA draft the year before. Napheesa's husband has orchestrated a it's a trigger point. She used Caitlin Clark's name because Caitlin Clark, whether you like her or you don't like her, but just for the people that really like Caitlin Clark, when you mention Caitlin Clark's name, it gets your attention. So now at this point, she's gotten the attention, and everybody's focusing on how did she say that she made that money? She made the money. They're focusing on the money and the $16 million comment. Keep in mind, folks, when Caitlin Clark signed her deal, it was the largest deal that she had signed. She had made money prior to being the WNBA. That's true. She signed her deal after she joined the WNBA because they wanted to have the draft, and then they announced the deal. This was Nike. The $16 million is what Napheesa threw in there. I doubt this even happened. I doubt she said these specifics. For her to know this, have this conversation, and say the word unrivaled, lets me know, yes, Cathy said some stuff to you that you didn't like. And she said some stuff about Caitlin. And she also said the draw that Caitlin was and the attention that Caitlin brings. Because if you had this conversation in Unrivaled, and Unrivaled took place in January, February, and right into March, then you've been holding on to this information quite a long time. And you're negotiating. When they told you at the table in July what they told you, I'm pretty sure Cathy reiterated the same exact thing, because I've said the same exact thing. I said in the video that, hey, Cathy went Denzel Washington training day on them, and so did the rest of the people in the meeting, the owners. They told them. They told the players. She's the one that's driving the viewership and the numbers. That's why Napheesa, at the beginning of the press conference, she said, it's not about the money. It's not about the sustainability. No, you don't want it to be. Because you're still trying to rally the troops. But I'm going to let her go.
Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them.
I believe that.
That's the mentality driving our league from the top. I believe that. We go to battle.
I believe that, and I believe that because, in all honesty, they should all be on their knees thanking Caitlin Clark. Because remember, I made a video a couple weeks ago where I said Cathy Englebert does not like that Caitlin Clark gets the credit for bringing in the influx of fans. She's a businesswoman. This lady was a CEO of a major company. Do you think she wants a 22-year-old woman to take all the credit for the influx of new people and the growth of the league? If you think that, you are a fool. She ain't giving Caitlin Clark no credit. I do believe that, but at the same time, the players should be thanking Caitlin Clark for that $2.2 billion. Because if Caitlin Clark was still in college and that deal would have got through last year, it would have probably been $1 billion or $500 million. That deal would have been small.
Every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. The league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them. I have the privilege of watching my husband run a league where he has to balance 100 different things at once. I won't pretend the job is easy, but even with all of that on his plate, he always takes the time to reach out to players when he sees an injury.
That's when I knew her husband wrote the speech, right there. You're bringing in another company again in a exit interview when you're trying to rally the troops, and you're bringing up your husband's job in Unrivaled and how he can juggle all these things. Mind you, folks, Unrivaled operates the same exact way Cathy Englebert does. Pay attention to what she says.
Whether it's Unrivaled or even during the WNBA season, that is what leadership looks like. It's the human element. It's basic integrity, and it's the bare minimum any leader should embody. This year alone, I've gotten calls, texts, and well wishes from so many players across the league. Those moments remind me that sometimes there are things bigger than the results than this game we play. But do you know who I haven't heard from? Cathy. Not one call, not one text. Instead, the only outreach has come from her number 2 telling my agent that she doesn't believe physical play is contributing to injuries.
Now, she's talking about, she only went out for, she sprained her ankle in early August. Why would the commissioner call you? I mean, really, why? I mean, if that's the case, the commissioner will call everybody. Every time somebody hurts an elbow, or when Angel Reese's back's out, she's gonna call Angel Reese and say, "Hey man, how's your back?" It's not that type of party. Even with this injury that she had, another ankle injury, why would the commissioner call you? And then you said the number 2 person called. Maybe Cathy's doing the CBA negotiations, like you should be doing, and you got plenty of time to do it now.
That is infuriating. And it's the perfect example of the tone-deaf, dismissive approach that our leaders always seem to take. I've finally grown tired. For too long, I have tried to have these conversations in private, but it's clear there is no intention of accepting there's a problem. The league has made it clear it isn't about innovation, it isn't about collaboration, it's about control and power.
Now, I told you guys back in July, the whole thing is control and power. Key word she said was collaboration. They're not going to get that collaboration in this entity the way it's constructed, with the WNBA only owning 40% of itself and the NBA owning 40% of itself. They're not going to get that deal. They can't get that deal that the NBA gets. That's why she keeps going back to it. That's why she keeps on saying the collaboration. Mind you, we don't have any specifics or any details on the splits in the unrivaled leagues either.
I've earned this platform and I've paid the price to get here, and now I have a responsibility to speak on behalf of the fans and everyone in this league that deserves better.
That was pretty funny when she said speak on behalf of the fans. Now, it was a couple months ago when a fan was talking about the CBA negotiations and she chastised the fan about doing 4th of July weekend, not barbecuing and worrying about the CBA. But I just thought that was interesting.
Our leadership's answer to being held accountable is to suppress everyone's voices by handing out fines.
Them little ass fines they get, them $200 fines that Sophie Cunningham, $500 fines that Sophie Cunningham got, please.
I'm not concerned about a fine. I'm concerned about the future of our sport. At some point, everyone deserves to hear the truth from someone who I hope has earned the benefit of the doubt to fight for what is right and fair for our athletes and our fans. We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world. If I didn't know exactly what the job entailed, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But unfortunately for them, I do. We serve a league that has shown they think championship coaches and Hall of Fame players are dispensable, and that's fine. It's professional sports. But I will not stand quietly by and allow different standards to be applied at the league level. Thank you.
In my next video, I'm going to get into the questions they asked her after this, because I want you to notice the change in tone. I'll leave a link to this video where this is off of ESPN, and I don't want to get a copyright strike for showing the video because they're kind of sensitive. But basically, folks, this was a pep rally. This was a pep rally. Plain and simple pep rally. Players are leaving to go to their new leagues, their second jobs, or their, as Candace Parker would say, it was her primary job to work elsewhere, and the WNBA was their part-time job. So, Napheesa's been struggling as a vice president, hasn't been real vocal, and is getting closer to the deadline. Checks have stopped. She's gotta make a point. And the number one thing I said back in July is to get the public on your side. The best way to get the public on your side, or get the large majority of the public on your side, is to have a common cause. Most people's common cause when it comes to the WNBA is a woman that wears a 22 jersey, and her name is Caitlin Clark. mention Caitlin Clark's name and people turn their heads and say, what? She said what? Now, if you notice, and you'll notice it for like the next maybe 2 or 3 days, because it'll buy them about 3 days. 3 days worth of time. This will get them 3 days worth of press and get them 3 days worth of rah-rah, get people emotional. Because they're going to talk about the money. You're going to see a lot of videos about Caitlin Clark made this amount of money. Yeah, get it. That's not the issue. This is a smoke screen. This is a smoke screen. Let me put the attention on Caitlin Clark. Remember back in July, I made a video when I said the worst thing Caitlin Clark could have done was go along with that t-shirt stunt, because for the next month they're going to use this clip of her and they're going to use that picture of Caitlin Clark and they're going to paint Caitlin Clark as a victim. That was what Napheesa Collier was doing. That's what they orchestrated with this speech, because it takes pressure off of her and it puts pressure on Cathy Englebert. Now people are going to say they need to get rid of Cathy Englebert. They need to fire Cathy Englebert. Maybe they'll fire Cathy Englebert and we can get a CBA. Got to understand, folks, Cathy Englebert's job is to take bullets. She takes bullets for billionaires. She gets dirty so they can stay clean. Notice, no slander towards the NBA. Just Cathy. Cathy and the W. That one little portion. She didn't touch into the NBA. She didn't reach out to Adam Silver. She didn't say anything to Adam Silver. She wants it to bubble up and she wants fans to get enraged so that they do the negotiating for her and it takes pressure off of her. It's a brilliant strategy. It's an old strategy. I was talking to an old union rep today when this came out and we were both laughing at how smooth she took the pressure off herself and put all the attention on Caitlin Clark and Cathy Englebert by mixing in some little conversation that you had. But you had to listen to what she said when she said, I was talking to Cathy at Unrivaled. Remember, I told you the reason why they sent Cathy in there. You sent a spy in to do that dirt so that they can stay clean. Cathy was posing as a friend, work as a spy. It's in the 48 Laws of Power. That's all Cathy Englebert was doing. She gave Napheesa what she wanted. She gave her some conversation. I doubt the conversation went like that because Napheesa held on to it way too long. Way too long. And that's the part that most people are even glossing over. So you knew this information all this time, and you ain't said nothing. You ain't said a word. And women talk. Y'all can't hold water. So you think for a second that she said something that derogatory to you at a meeting at Unrivaled. You had a meeting at Unrivaled. A meeting at Unrivaled, and she mentioned Caitlin Clark. I bet you she did mention Caitlin Clark. And she probably mentioned that Caitlin Clark is the driver for revenue and stuff in the league and that y'all need to step it up. And now you've twisted words. But it gets the heat off of you. But let me know what you thought about this. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll drop the next video. We'll go over the questions that were asked to her. And then I want you to notice the difference in the body language and everything in the questions and the answers. But until next time, folks, peace.